Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 PM Pacific time in the United States, which is 10 AM if you're in Australia or 1 AM if you're in the UK. Do remember though, you can always catch up with the premiere event streams on a Friday and Saturday at 2 PM Pacific time in the US, which is 7 AM in Australia or 10 PM if you're in the UK. I hope all you guys and girls had a good weekend. We are going to switch things up a little bit. We've been working on the Temple of the Winds 3D model in 3D Studio Max and Substance Painter. We're just putting that on pause temporarily. I've got to jump into UE4 just to do some asset optimization on the latest build of the House on the Hollow game that the studio I'm working for is releasing, so we will be doing that today and tomorrow. And then we'll probably, depending on how quickly we get through optimizing some of the assets, jump back into the Temple of the Winds next week. We'll see how we go. That's the plan of action. Do remember, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If I can help you in any way, I'm happy to try. Don't pretend to know everything, but I'll give it a go. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's always welcome. But if all you want to do is watch, that is completely fine. Just give me a sec, guys. My phone is going off. Okay. So, House on the Hollow. We're going to be doing some asset optimization in the UE4 engine. So this is the game we're going to be working on. Just noticing that NDI seems a bit funny. I don't know if you can see my cursor going there, but it's very... it's not smooth. I'm not sure what's going on with NDI. Something seems to have changed. I noticed this with Max last week, actually, when we were working. So I don't know if it's an update to Windows or what it is. It's very odd. We'll see how we go. It's sluggish though. NDI is sluggish. Because things are smooth on my screen, but I'm seeing in OBS it's looking a little bit jittery. It seems to be anything related to DirectX. That's what I can put it down to, because 3D Studio Max uses DirectX. And so does the Unreal Engine here. So, yeah, don't know. It's either a Windows update that's causing problems. We'll push through. We'll see how we go. So we are going to start optimizing some of these assets. I've already done a few here, so let's just jump back down to the front of the building. Here we are. And let's have a look. So basically what I'm going to do is any asset that has more than 3 textures, I will optimize. It's really annoying. I'll have to look at NDI too. I'm pretty sure I'm running the latest SDK, but we'll see. Let's have a look at this picture frame up here, shall we? Okay, one for the actual painting, 3 for the frame. So if it's got 3, I probably won't do an optimization at this stage. We'll optimize other assets that have higher textures than 3, and if we need to, after we've done that, we can come back and we can do the 3 ones. But up to 3 textures should be okay, unless you're doing a mobile game, in which case you should knock it back to 1. But this is not going to be released on mobile, so... And my phone is going off again. I'm just going to grab it and put it in front of me. Okay, promise not to get distracted again. So the picture frame should be okay. Let us find something else. And I will, for those people that have been watching me do the Temple of the Winds, like I said, we'll probably jump back into that again next week. I just wanted to, I need to do some optimization stuff because I have a deadline for this, so I'm really annoyed with NDI being so jaggy, but anyway. What's next? I did did go through this, so a lot of the ones here at the beginning are okay, or if they weren't, I've already optimized them up. Let's move upstairs. I think this probably a lot of the furniture is going to need to be optimized, so let's have a look at that. Okay, the harp here is probably a good thing to be optimized because we have 2, 4, 6 textures. We're going to knock that back to 1. So first things first, we need to, let's go into our world outliner here. And let me find the harp. Come on, where are you? Can't find my harp. I just have everything broken up into subfolders. It makes it a little bit easier usually to find things. Curtains. Now the only reason I'm looking for it is because once I do an optimization on the asset, I want to rename it so I know that it's merged. And if you notice these ones, they have they start with SM merged, and that'll just, it's an easy way for me to tell that I've merged it already, and I don't have to work on it again. Okay. Smurfberry, thank you for the host, buddy. I do appreciate it when you guys host me, so thank you for hosting the channel. The harp. It's good to see you, Smurfberry. Did you have a good weekend? I hope you're well. We were talking about Discord in the Discord channel. Remember, if you haven't joined the Discord server, you guys should jump into Discord. When everyone mentions at everyone, it can get really annoying. And Sniper Echo, it's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good weekend. It was okay? Well, as long as it was okay, not terrible. I was just saying before that NDI seems a bit sluggish. I'm not sure why. Anyway, it seems to be anything that with the that uses DirectX. Like Max the other day was a bit sluggish, and now I'm noticing with my cursor here it's a bit jumpy. It's smooth on my screen, but on OBS here using NDI it's a bit jumpy. So then we're using DirectX here as well. So it seems to be with the new Windows update, anything DirectX related is a bit jumpy. Smedberry says, I'm reacquainting myself with the horrors of this blue plant project. Why do I keep saying planet? The blue plant project. Yeah, it can be. You were saying that after you haven't worked on it for a while, it can be really hard to remember what is what. That's so true. You know, we'll leave the Temple of the Winds for a week, and I'll come back and I won't know what I'm doing. So yes, this asset, because it uses 6 different textures, is a really good candidate for an optimization. So let's do that. And Sniper, actually, those 2 plugins that you mentioned, the blueprint and the plugin, I had not heard of them before. I didn't know that they were in UE4. I did have a quick read up on the plugin and a quick look at what was going on with the blueprint. They do look very cool. I'll use the asset tool here in Unreal though, because so far it's done quite a good job. There are a couple of assets it doesn't handle well. When I redid the central stairs here, which is the central railing section here, the square section, rectangular section, it lost its mind. I had to do that manually in Max. Yeah, so some things it's okay with, some things it tends to lose its mind, but we'll see how we go. But it's good to have those other options. Like I said, I didn't know about them, so. Smoker says, I've worked out what's what, but there's a bunch of nitty little things that require manual fixes. So that's all kind of fun. All kinds of fun. Sniper says, yeah, they're in there for ages now. The render to texture is the most versatile because it's easily modified to work. So you're talking about the render to texture blueprint, I'm assuming, because there is that plugin in the marketplace that you linked to as well, which does look cool too. My only concern with the plugin, the marketplace plugin, is if I update the Unreal Engine, is it going to break that plugin? Because I have deadlines and stuff now for this, the studio here has deadlines for this game. I'm hesitant to do anything that, or use anything that's going to break me being able to update the engine. And I know like the instancing tool, which is another plugin you can purchase from the marketplace, which I haven't purchased yet, but I was looking at. It broke in 4.2.2. Now, I don't know if they've pushed out an update. I'm assuming they may have, but basically everyone's assets that use the instancing tool plugin were all screwed up. So they had to wait for the developer of the plugin to update it to 4.2.2. So I just don't, I'm really careful with using other people's plugins on an object, on a project that may have deadlines. Whereas the asset tool that I'm using here now inside of UE4 is actually made by Epic Games. It's built into UE4, so there's less problems if when you update the engine. So that's my reasoning. But the render to texture, which is a blueprint, I believe, that probably wouldn't be a problem. Sniper says, yeah, render to texture blueprint. It may, but you only need to use it once for all assets and you can remove it then? Oh. Okay, so it can do like a batch on a lot of assets. Sniper says, I'll post the link in the tutorial in the Discord channel. Do post a link in the tutorials and tips section on Discord. Remember, guys, if you join the Discord server, you can... there's a section there for tutorials and tips that all the users of the Discord have found over the course of being on my channel. So it's not stuff that I've posted. This is stuff that the guys that have been my viewers have found and posted in the tips and tutorials section. And there's some really, really interesting and useful stuff in there. So if you, not just UE4 stuff, just general 3D stuff or general sort of art stuff, you should check it out. There's a gallery on Discord as well that you guys can post links to your work in, because only subs can post in my Twitch chat, but everyone can post links in Discord. And there's also a section there which is to folios and demo reels. So if you want to promote your art station or your portfolio or anything like that, you can post links there. Thank you, Lucas, for following the channel. I do appreciate it. So thank you, Lucas. And Lucas, if you do want to join the Discord, that's the link I've just popped in chat there. You don't have to, I'm just saying. Sniper says, yeah, I feel the same about plugins. That's why I use the render to texture blueprint mostly. I would recommend that. Look, I'm not saying that the plugins are bad at all. I'm just saying if you use them and you update the engine and it breaks, you're going to have to wait for the developer of the plugin to update their plugin to get your assets back to normal. And if you've used that plugin on a lot of assets, and the developer is maybe a bit lax in updating stuff on the marketplace, then you're either going to have to redo all those assets or just wait. So yeah, I don't like to be beholden to another person. So I'm just very careful. I try not to use plugins for that reason. And like I said, the asset tool that I'm going to be using now is built into UE4. It's made by Epic Games. So if they update the engine, it should all be good. Shouldn't break. That's the reason I'm using it. And the reason I mention it, I'm not exactly sure how the plugin on the marketplace works, but I get the impression it actually does something similar to what I'm going to be using here, in that it creates like a database of pointers to the new texture file. So basically it's replacing the shader, or all of these shaders that we see along here. It's going to be replacing them with one generic shader that is then instanced and I'm assuming, and then calls the new texture map. So if that makes sense. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to start with the harp here because it has 6 materials, and 6 materials on one object is bad. it increases the number of draw calls, but it's not just increasing it by 6 draw calls, because each of these also has a normal map, a metallic map, and a roughness map. So you multiply all of those together by 6, and you're starting to really eat up a lot of memory and space and things. So a good example is, I'm just going to find this harp here in my browser. Let's open it up. Let's look at the asset as it is at the moment. So if I just pull out a bit here, and if we go to asset and size map, it gives us a breakdown of the size of the object on disk. So that's the size in your packaged game. That's how big the size would be, although it's going to be compressed slightly. But also the size in memory that the asset is using. So if we pay attention to these, so it's using 42.4 megabytes of memory, that one asset. And it's using 30.4 megabytes of disk space. So we'll keep this open and we'll do a comparison between the two once we have done an optimization. Also, if we look at it, we can see that it's using 27 total assets. Basically, I think that means draw calls, I'm assuming. But we'll look at that too. That number should drop down, so we'll check that out. And it's non-destructive, this tool, as well. So basically, it's not going to replace my original mesh here. My original mesh will stay as it is. It's going to create a new mesh, a new optimized mesh. So anytime we can use a tool that optimizes without non-destructively, so it is always really good, because if we don't like it, we can go back to the original. The same thing when we do some lotting, so we've got to do lotting inside the level here as well. It's non-destructive as well, because the optimization, the triangulation optimization built into UE4 is also non-destructive. So if you don't like the result, you can go back to the original. So all those things are really, really cool. But we're going to be looking at the harp, so let's jump back into my subfolder of my merged assets. And let's pull up the tool. So if we go to edit, do we go to edit? No, we go to window, developer tools, and we're going to use the merge actors tool. Now the merge actors tool is really meant to take a whole lot of different assets and merge them into one asset to reduce the number of draw calls and things like that. We're going to use it in a different way, in that we're just going to use it to merge the texture files. So it does have these different sections here for what you want to merge, different types of objects you want to merge, instancing, merging, and all that sort of stuff. It's just saying that it won't result in anything because we've only got one object selected. It's not, it wants multiple things. But we're just going to use the first one here to do a material merge. So I'm not going to change my pivot point. I'll merge physics data, but there is no physics data on it. I'm going to bake the vertex data to the mesh. I'm going to use a specific LOD level at LOD level 0. We'll include imposters, but there are no imposters. There are no distance fields. I'm going to get it to generate a light map UV, so I make a new light map. The actual light map resolution, the original mesh here, the resolution is 64. I'm actually going to knock that up to 128. I'm not going to change whether or not the light map resolution should be computed based on the resolutions on the thing. I'm telling it to use 128. We are going to merge the materials. Now, just before I do this, I'm just going to check what size the materials are on this asset. So this one, this is a 1K texture. This one is a 2K texture, so we're up to 3K already for this asset. Now remember, I made this for the cinematic. No, it was never intended to be a live game level, and that's why we have to go through and do this optimization. This is another 2K, so we're up to 5K. That's just white, so I don't think that'll be an issue. No. Let's see how the engine handles that, actually. That'll be interesting, because this is one that's a parameter. So this is the sort of thing that can sometimes bring the asset tool unstuck. We'll find out. And this one, this is 1K, so we're up to 6K. And the final one here. Here's 1K, so that's like 7K's worth of assets on this one mesh. Now that's a lot. In my defense, some of these shaders were reused on other assets, but let's see if we can knock this back to something a bit more manageable. So back to the asset tool. So we're going to merge the materials. I'm going to set it to a 4K texture, because remember at the moment it's 7K's worth. If we go too low, it's going to start to degrade the quality of the texture. The texture is going to start to look blurred. So if we go to 4096, we should keep a nice high resolution texture, because we're reusing a couple of these assets, like the woman here on top is being reused on the steps down below. So it's not like we're wasting 4K on one asset, we're reusing that asset in other spots. We're going to do the normal map, the metallic map, the roughness map. It doesn't have a specular map, so it'll do a constant of 0.5. It doesn't use an emissive, an opacity. It doesn't use an ambient occlusion. Blend mode is opaque. We're going to use a vertex data for baking material. We're not going to use binning. We're not going to reuse the light map UVs. I want it to create new ones based on the new UV layout of the merged texture. And we're going to use merge equivalent materials. I'm not going to replace the actor. Basically, if you click that, once it merges the actor, it'll replace it for you automatically. I don't like to do that because I like to do a comparison between them before I decide if it's good enough to be replaced. So let's do a merge. Everything looks good. Let's put it in our merged actors folder. And I'm just going to rename this, get rid of the 71 at the end. And let's do a save. So now it's basically taking all the textures, it's re-UV mapping the model, taking all of the textures and baking them all down to one texture. Well, 3 textures, metallic, normal and diffuse, and roughness, so probably 4. And I see you posted Sniper in the tutorial section on Discord. Good man. So yeah, and it is baking out a 4K texture, so we're just going to give it a minute here. It just takes it a little while. The higher the resolution of the texture, the longer it'll take for it to work. Okay. So let's have a look at what it's done, shall we? Okay, and it has messed up. If we look at what it's done here, it's used now, and again, I've noticed this with some of the assets using that tool. It doesn't just tend to lose its mind a little bit. Don't know why. So let us just remove this, have a look at these shaders and decide how we want to handle this. So it looks like it's only taken the first texture. So I'm just going to delete these. This is why I don't get it to automatically replace stuff. Just to check it to make sure it's not going to do anything weird. Sniper says, yeah, the only thing I don't like is it creates a separate material for each mesh, so you lose the instancing performance gain and also the file size. I found the file size to be pretty good, particularly the memory file size. It creates a separate material for each mesh. Oh yeah, because you're talking about doing one material for like multiple meshes in your level. Yeah, it does. It still creates one material for each mesh. That's true. But it does do a substantial reduction in draw call and text and memory size. But I just need to, I think, like I said, I've noticed sometimes with this plugin, it should all be fine, that it can have problems with things like the harp strings here. It's using a parameter and not a texture. So I think sometimes that confuses it. So what I can do is... Now, I said just white for the harp strings, but actually I'm thinking now that the harp strings might be cool if they're in gold. So let's try changing out that for a gold. I could probably use the harp gold here. Even though it's not meant for there, it's actually a texture map meant for... Actually, let's go into unlit mode, it'll be easy to see. Meant for around down here. Oh, sorry, meant for there. But it's only got like a general dirt distressing on it, so it still might be okay for the strings. So I'm going to work out why it won't let me copy to begin with. Why won't you let me copy? Maybe because it's not the actual asset. Let's find the asset again. And copy the gold here onto where the strings are. If we zoom in here a little bit. I think gold strings will be okay. So now we're using the same texture twice. Let me just save that. And let's try to do the asset tool again. That's true, yeah. So back to the asset merge tool. Let me just double check everything here again. Normal map, metallic map, roughness map, spec of 0.5. There's no ambient occlusion, blend mode opaque, gutter size 2. Just going to turn off merge equivalent meshes. Or materials, sorry, merge equivalent materials. Everything else should be okay though. So let's try it again. And like I said, I did notice this problem on a couple of things. That's why I did the stairwell railings, the central railings by hand in Max. Which is always a better way to go. If you've got the time, doing it manually, re-UV mapping to one texture manually inside your 3D program, you're going to get better control over it than trusting an automated tool. But if you've got a lot of assets, that's going to take a lot of time. Let's see what it's done this time. And again, it's just taken one of the materials and put it on everything, which is weird. You're misbehaving. You are misbehaving. I actually don't even think it's creating a texture properly. It's not. Strange. This may be one we have to check out that blueprint plugins that Sniper Echo is talking about. Or I may have to do it manually in Max. Let's just delete these and let's move on to another asset. I'll come back to that. I was having this problem as well, like I said, with this central railing section here. It was also misbehaving. Manually, yes, I know. Gonna have to do it manually. Shock horror. Let's have a look at the chair. Okay, the chair, again, it's got 2, 4, 5 materials, so again, it'll be a good one for us to do. So, a lot of the furniture probably will be. I think I used quite a few texture maps on the furniture. Again, let's check what size these texture maps are. It's a 2K. Another 2K. A 1K. 2K, so we're already getting up there, so I always do that. There we go. And I mean to move the camera and not moving the object. Let's try baking it out as a 2K instead of a 4K texture, see what the result is, but I have a feeling it's going to be too low. But we'll give it a go. Let me just make sure my settings here are correct and I haven't forgotten something. This chair is using 64 as the light map resolution. We'll go back to 64. Merging materials. We'll try 2K. Normal, metallic, roughness, not specular, no emissive, no opacity. Or ambient occlusion. I'm going to turn off the vertex data. I actually don't have any vertex data on any of these meshes, so I'm not going to use binning. Not reusing the light maps. I'm going to merge equivalent materials. And let's turn that back on. This is why things always take a lot longer than you anticipate whenever you start to work on anything. All these little problems that crop up that you didn't expect. And I'm just going to rename it. Now what I'm finding interesting, now the mouse is fine, but because I've turned off lighting. So yeah, it's weird. I did post a video actually on my Twitter page about the object interaction in the game, because I've put a couple of objects in that you see here on the table. So I just thought I'd show that off in a video, a quick 1.5-minute video. It's doing it with everything. There's something really weird going on. It was not doing this yesterday. Why is it losing its mind? Because you can see the assets I did here, and they've been fine. It's just today, for some reason, is losing its mind. When in doubt, restart the program. Let's just remove these ones that are no good. I don't think I've done anything, so I shouldn't need to save anything. Look, I will anyway, just to be on the safe side, you never know. Yeah, nothing got saved because nothing's been changed. I'm just going to restart the editor. And we want this one here. Again, I have all of these objects still on my hard drive from when I made them in Max. If worse comes to worse, I'll do them manually. This is the actual loading screen for the menu, so I'm just going to open up the level itself. Let's try and pick something maybe that's not quite so hard for the program to work with to begin with. I'm just looking through here to see how many are on the couch. Okay, the couch here has 4. So that'll probably be... let's try the couch. So again, we've got 4 materials on the couch. This ratty old couch. I did want to make it so it looked like it had been worn and used quite a bit. Let us give this one a go. Couch, couch, couch. Window. Developer tools. Merge actors. Okay, now this is because it's part of our prefab. I don't want it to merge everything in my prefab because as part of the gameplay, I want people to be able to pick up these cushions individually. Let me show you what I mean. We'll just go back to lit mode temporarily. I'm using eye adaptation as well, so if we look at a bright object and then look around, the screen is darker for a second. But yeah, the reason I don't want to merge everything in that prefab for the couch, that's just what happens because I'm playing the game out of order, is because I want to be able to pick up cushions and have people inspect for clues and all that sort of stuff. It's part of the gameplay. Anyway. So what we'll do here is I'm just going to jump outside for a minute. And I'm going to pull in the couch itself. Now we'll go back to the asset merge. Good, we've only got one. I don't want to change that. Physics data. Bake vertex data. Use specified lot 0. Include imposters. The light map on the couch is 64. I might make it 128. Merge materials. Let's try 4K here. We might be able to get away with a 2K, but we'll try 4K. Normal, metallic, roughness. I'm pretty sure there's no specular or anything on these. Let's just double check. No, we're using a roughness. And a roughness. And a roughness. No, that should be fine. I'm not using binning. We're not going to reuse the light map, but get it to redo it. I'm wondering if that's causing a problem. It hasn't on the other assets, but we'll have a look. Merger equivalent can stay on. I'm not going to replace the actors. What's it doing there? I don't know what it's doing, Sniper Echo. It's losing its mind. It looks like what it's doing is it's just using the very first material and reapplying that to the entire model. Don't know why. Should not be doing that. Wasn't doing it yesterday. Who can tell? Who knows? Okay, enough with this shared data cache stuff. Come on. Okay, now if I pull in the one that it's just made, we can do a comparison between the two. Sniper says, doesn't it need to create a new mesh for the generated material to work? Yes, it does. You can see it's done this one fine. So if we do a comparison between the original here and the baked here, actually let's just turn unlit on. We can see that we haven't really lost anything as far as quality goes, but we have merged everything down to one material. It doesn't look like it's lost its mind this time. It seems to have done the job properly. But let's do a comparison now between the two assets and see how it compares as far as memory use and all that sort of stuff goes. So I'm going to open this one up, which is the new one using one material. And I'm going to open this one up, which is the original. Okay, so this is the original. This is the new merged one. Okay, so the original was using 35.4 megabytes size on disk and 22.1 megabytes size in memory for a total of 21 assets. This one, okay, it doesn't know because I haven't done a save yet. So I'm just going to remove the original here, keep this one in the level and do a save all. And then it will be able to work out the size on disk and how much memory it's using. Alright, let's jump back. Not that one, this one. Really? I closed it down. That's the original. That's the merged. Okay, now it's using substantially bigger size on disk. But look how much the memory use is reduced. So memory use 1.3 megabytes on the merge. Memory size on the original 22.1 megabytes. 21 total assets. Six total assets, 1.3 megabytes of memory usage. Now, memory usage is much more important than size on disk. Size on disk, because most people now have SSDs, is not much of an issue. Sniper says if the existing mesh has separate ID maps, the new material won't work on the same mesh. Ah, that's interesting. If it's got separate ID maps. Because I did actually think I might have created different ID maps for some of the objects, so that might explain why some of them aren't transferring over. Sniper says, Philip, you don't need alpha on the texture, you can save more also. Ah. So you're talking about turning these off. So we're using a metallic roughness, a spec and a diffuse. So we could turn the opacity. Is this what you're referring to, Sniper Echo? I do want a spec though, because I do... Oh, actually no, we're using a roughness, aren't we? So I don't need a spec. No, I think I do need a spec. One second, you'll grab the exact info. Okay, thanks. But yeah, even though we've increased the size of the textures on the size of the object on disk, we have really reduced the size of the memory that the object is using. So 1.3 meg on the new one, and I think it was 22.1 megabytes of memory the original was using with the 4 different texture maps. 21 total assets. to 6 total assets and 1.3 megabytes. Sniper says, if you open the generated texture, yes, which is what I did here. On the right, look at the file size info, then tick compress without alpha. Where is this? Where is this compress without alpha? Am I going blind or is it not there? I don't see the option here, Sniper Echo. Unless I am going blind. Yeah, I know you mean open the... Oh, open the texture itself. Okay. Well, let's have a look. It is actually ticked compress without alpha, just up here. So the asset tool automatically enables compress without alpha. But it's a good option to know about. For any other textures that we may have in the level, I may have to check that out for them. You see the way it did the UV mapping here. This is its automated UV map, which is why sometimes it can always be better to do it yourself inside of a 3D program. Not that it's done a bad job. It's messy for a UV map, but it works. It didn't used to do that? Well, I'm glad it does. Whoever says, what? So yeah, it automatically compresses without alpha. It enables that for you, which is good to know. And yeah, it creates this, you see the parent material here is called base flattened material. That's basically the shader it creates to make your material here. You still have access if you want to change things on it, the materials on it, but you don't get access to the actual shader tree anymore. It sort of puts everything in this base flattened material. It doesn't look as pretty as the original shape, but it's not about prettiness in the editor, it's about getting the thing optimized. So, but what I did do there is I did turn off, which came in ticked because I left it ticked when I did the asset merge, the opacity. We're not using any opacity, so I turned all of those off. Even though they're not using a texture, they're just using a value. We don't need them because there is no opacity on the couch. But it is a good tool because, number one, it's reduced our draw calls down to 1, well, to 4 because of the roughness, metallic and normal. So it's reduced it from 1, 2, 4 draw calls, which is more because each one has 4, just to one texture map. And it's reduced substantially the memory that the object takes up inside of the game. So we're saving like 21 megabytes of memory on this object by doing the merge, and we're saving on draw calls by making everything one material. So that's the reason I'm doing this for some of these assets inside of the game. As far as quality goes, like I said, you can't tell the difference between the two. They're pretty much identical. Original, merged. Original, merged. Smurper says, darn robots and their bizarre data storage methods. Sniper says, for a fire and forget tool, it's great, I guess. Yeah. Again, it's just a tool that they built in here, which is not really meant to be used. Well, it can be, I guess. Maybe they did mean it, but it's actually meant to merge assets together. So to take a whole lot of different meshes and merge them into one. But because we're only using one asset, we're just using it to merge the materials. And anytime I can use an automated tool, as you guys know with Rhizome UV to do my UV mapping, I'm all for it, saving time and getting it done more quickly, providing the result is okay. And the result is pretty good. On some assets, you will save on the texture size, the size on disk, as well as the memory. Some will go up, like this one went up slightly on the size on disk, but I'm less concerned with that. All that means is it's going to take like, a microsecond longer to load in than the other one. But we're going to be saving 21 megabytes of memory on the asset in the actual game engine, which is much more important. Much more important too if you're doing mobile game, because mobile phones, they don't have as much memory as a computer or a console, and the graphics chips in them aren't as powerful. So merging all the assets down to one, so to reduce the draw calls, and reducing the size of memory is really important. Not that it's good for us as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's not useful for PC gaming. It is. Okay, so we can say that the couch is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just delete the one out here, go back inside of the level, find the original here. Let's go back into our prefab and find where the actual couch is, which is this one here. And I'm going to select the merged one, and I'm going to replace it. Everything stays the same, but now we have the new optimized version inside of the level. And if I turn the lighting back on, we can see it looks identical. There is no difference. Sniper says, the method I use doesn't change the UVs. Yeah, now, that's a good point. And I actually want to check that as well. I want to make sure that I want to see what the UVs are like. Okay, so these are the UVs on the couch. Now, I can't remember if this is my UVs or not. I don't know, actually. And let's look at the light map UVs. Okay, this is the light map UVs are what the engine created. I wanted it to recreate light maps for me. But these are the actual UVs of the couch itself. So, but yeah, you don't need to get it to that. This tool, if you don't want it to make new UVs, it's going to, because it's merging the materials into one. But if you want to keep your light map UVs, you can. But because it has to condense 4 textures into one texture, it's got to re-UV map it. But Sniper is saying that the method he uses doesn't change his UVs. And he's talking about, there's a tool in Unreal that Sniper mentioned that's called, it's a blueprint to do merge. And there's also that plugin that you can get from the marketplace, which is free. But again, I would avoid using the marketplace one simply because I don't want to wait for a developer to update his stuff. I can't have that if I've got deadlines and I can't be waiting on somebody else. I'd rather not risk it. So I just wanted to double check that the UVs actually had been created for the light map, because I had noticed sometimes too. Now again, I don't know if it's a bug in the engine or it's something I did wrong, but sometimes the light map UVs don't transfer across, so it's always good to check. Gold Rock, hi Gold Rock, it's good to see you. How are you? How's things? Welcome to Phil Does 3D, Gold Rock. I'm working in the UE4 engine before you ask. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. But it's good to see you, Gold Rock. Thanks for being here. So yeah, I'd just like to double check that the light map UVs are actually there. Then they are. So we've optimized the couch, which is good. There is another one over here that I need to swap out, so let's do that. Let's find the couch, which is this one, and we're going to swap it out for the optimized merged version. And that one's good to go. You're good? Good to hear. Did you have a good weekend? Get up to anything interesting? You doing any 3D stuff yourself? I always like to hear about what you guys are working on if you do 3D. If you don't do 3D, that's cool. Just like to watch somebody else doing it. Okay, so I'm going to just move these into subfolders so my asset thingy here doesn't get too overwhelmed with stuff. So I'm going to move that into the materials, and I'm going to move these three. Okay, I actually want to mention this too. What the merge tool does here, you see this is green, and this looks, you probably can't see it because it's behind me, but one of the textures here looks green, and it's because as part of the merge tool, what the asset tool is doing is it's merging the roughness and the metallic together into one texture map to try and save on texture memory as well. So that's the reason one of them looks green. So it does actually merge the metallic and roughness into the different red, green and blue channels. I can't remember if it's blue and green. I always get confused with that. Let's move those into the textures. Let's do a save all. I always just like to do that just in case. Goldrock says, I'm doing pixel art and I've had a perfect weekend. Well, that's good to hear. Pixel art, that's cool. And really, really difficult too, actually, pixel art. People don't understand just how difficult that can be to do well. No, but pixel art is cool. All right, let's keep going and see what else we can merge. See, now again, this uses 3. Anything 3 and below, at this stage, I'm not going to merge. Anything over 3, I'll merge. And if at the end I still need a bit more performance, then I can look at merging these sort of assets. But at this stage, no. Again, the lines of 3 will be okay. It's only 1, that should be okay. I'm pretty sure these are only 1, yep. What else do we have? How many are on the table? 2, that should be okay. I've already done these and these, so that's okay. There's a couple here I actually need to check as well. That not for oh good, they're static. I've noticed a couple of assets that were brought in were set to movable when they should be static, and that's going to also affect the performance of the engine on an object that doesn't need to be movable. It only needs to be static. So I'm just going to check that too on a couple of assets as I go through. Because I noticed there were quite a few that were set to movable when they shouldn't have been. 3, that should be fine. What actually, anything that's using a glass shader, I can't use that tool on. That will cause problems. So I'm going to have to maybe do some manually if they've got all, yeah, this one. This one will be a good candidate because it uses an actual glass shader material. And this won't transfer across using that tool. So that will have to be done a different way. I've already done those. I don't think this only has 1. Let's move down a little bit. Let's look at this one here. This has 3. Again, 3 is probably okay. This has 2. That should be okay. Okay, this might be a good one. This one has 1, 2, 3. This one has 5. This is the wall paneling here. So let's find that. And I'm going to do this the same way again. I'm going to actually go outside. I'm not going to use the one that's in the level. So I'm just going to pull the original out into the world. And let's do a merge on this one. So we're merging physics, merging vertex data, using specified lot 0. What size is the light map on this? 64. I'm actually going to take this one up to 128. I didn't realize some of the assets, the light map resolution on them was quite so low. So 128 for this one. Let's do a 2K texture on this. Let's see how it does with 2K. Sniper Girl, good to see you, Sniper Girl. What's this? House in the Hollow? I'm dying of shock here. We had to put the Temple of the Winds temporarily on hold. Anyone watching this back on my YouTube channel who doesn't watch me on Twitch, why not? I do know that you might be a little bit annoyed that I'm having a week break here to do this. I'll get back to the Temple of the Winds next week. We'll finish that model off and we'll create a 3D environment, a neon view, a full-on environment there, but I needed to get this optimization stuff done. So I promise you guys that watch me on YouTube, we'll be back to finishing that model next week. Sniper Girl says temporary on hold. 2 years later, no, it won't be. It won't be that long. Let's knock this texture back to 2K, so 2048. And by the way, you don't have to use square textures. You can use rectangular. I don't even believe you need to keep it at a power of 2 anymore. It's just old habits die hard with me. Because it used to be with game stuff, it had to be kept in a power of 2, so 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, that sort of thing. But I believe now with the new graphics cards and the new drivers from NVIDIA and AMD, you don't need that restriction isn't there anymore. So you can make it anything you want to, but yeah. I still keep it as a power of 2. It's just habit, and I think it's probably maybe a little bit more efficient for the engine to handle as well. Maybe. Normal, metallic, roughness, they should all be good. We're not doing opacity. We are going to get it to create a new light map UV, and we're baking any vertex data, but there is no vertex data. Smurfree says not using a power of 2. Sniper Girl says, and how long ago did you say you were going to get finished with the temp? Every day for a couple of weeks. I didn't say every day I'll be finished. I said soon. It'll start to speed up now that we've started to create, we can start reusing some textures on it. It's so cheeky. You're going to get a Phil slap if you're not careful. So cheeky. 128 for the light map, that should be good. We've got the object selected so it knows what we want to do. Let's do a merge on the actors. Manor house, models, building, merged. And let's do a save. You're used to mod abuse, Sniper Girl. I'm going to slap you all. You're all going to... Oh, I'm so close to pushing that button. Yeah, in fact, actually, I won't do it while it's... just in case, while it's doing its thing here. Let's hope it doesn't lose its mind again. Yeah, I think it's a mod slap for you, Sniper Girl. If you want to slap me, you got to do mod slap, I think. Okay, let's pull in the merged asset here. I have a habit. Just the merged asset, that's what I want. Let's do a side-by-side comparison between the two. And again, you can see that even with a 2K asset, we're really not losing much detail. They pretty much look identical again. But one has 5 different materials, and one has only one. Did the mod slap go up? I wasn't paying attention. So did the mod slap go up? Did you get the fill slap? You got a vertex normal vector issue? Smurfrey says I got a vexing normal vector issue. It worked? Cool. I always like to double check because it's using Python scripting. It's basically when those commands, those on-screen commands, which if you're a subscriber you can set up yourself, you don't have to be a mod, but mods can do it. It uses a Python script, so it basically takes my chat client, which is on my main gaming computer here, that Unreal is running on at the moment, and sends it by the network to OBS, which then sets off the command. It's basically what you're doing when you're doing that is you're interacting with my OBS to turn things on and off, to show that those animated graphics things. So yeah, again, we've gone from using 5 different separate materials to 1 without really losing any quality. They're pretty much identical. And when people are running around inside the game, there's no way they're going to tell that there's any difference. We'll check out the difference now in a minute between the texture sizes and the size on disk as well. Sniper Girl says, that's freaking amazing. It is, and this is that asset tool that's built into Unreal that comes with UE4. We did have a few problems before you got on stream. It does lose its mind sometimes with some assets, so sometimes it can have a problem. Sometimes it's fine. Usually it's fine, and sometimes it can have a problem. So that's the difference between those two. So I'm going to get rid of the original. I'm just going to do a save so we can do a comparison between the sizes on disk and the size in memory between the two, between the old one and the optimized one. So this is the optimized one. Let's open up the original one as well. For that, I'm just going to jump back inside the building again. It's this one here. Okay, so this is the original. This is the optimized. Again, you can see they're identical. If there's a difference, it's just in the angle of the light. So the color looks a little different. It's just because of the angle I'm looking at here. But they're pretty much identical. So the original, if we look at the size, the original was using 38 megabytes of disk size with 19 total assets. And in memory, it was using 41.2 megabytes of memory. The optimized version now is using 657 kilobytes of memory. And size on disk, 10 megabytes. 10 megabytes on disk, not even 1 megabyte of memory, just over half a meg of memory. Whereas the original was using 41.2 megabytes on disk, so we're saving like 30 meg on disk. Was it 41.2 megabytes of memory, so we're saving like 40 megabytes of memory. And 38 megabytes on disk, so we're saving like 18 megabytes of disk space for the asset. So you can see with some assets it's really quite dramatic. Sniper Girl says, should be having a phone interview with a production studio in California. We'll keep you updated. That's cool. Really cool. Oh, that's great news. Production studio in California. You're going to move all the way to the other side of the United States, Sniper Girl. Although California, that's a nice place to live. Expensive from what I've heard, but nice. Such a big move, because you're like on the other side, aren't you, of the US? Well, that's great news. You must keep us updated on the Discord and stuff. Let us know how you go. So yes, again, I just wanted to point out the reason we're doing this. So we've gone from, we're saving 18 megabytes of disk size for the asset, and we're saving 40 megabytes of memory. So it can really pay to go through your assets and optimize them using the tool. It's built in, it's there. You may as well take advantage of it. Sniper Girl says, we'll go to California in a second. Hate my state. That is awesome though, as Sniper Echo says. You must keep us updated. And we'll all keep our fingers crossed for you. So yes, we've saved on draw calls, we've saved on memory for the asset, and we've saved on size on disk, and we've lost nothing as far as quality of the asset goes. So let's swap this one out for the new one now. So we've got that selected, back into our merged, select the optimized version, and replace it. Now the reason it's changed color is because that means the lighting needs to be rebuilt. So because we're swapping these assets out, I'm going to have to rebuild the lighting before we're going to get the correct shading happening. Just in case you were wondering why that happened. All right, what else have we got? It's only using one, so that's not really an issue. Let's jump down here and have a look. I think is this the same object again that I'm reusing? Or is this another one? Let me double check. This is called under stairs wall. Yeah, stairs wall. This is a different asset again. I couldn't reuse the same asset because the size under here was different from the one above. That and the fact too that I wanted the paneling to be larger here. I've actually got paneling against the walls as well here along the stairwell. We'll come to that in a minute. Let's look at the paneling here. So again, this uses 4, so this one we could reduce down to 1. So I'm keeping anything 3 and below, we're keeping as 3 or below. Anything over 3 we're going to reduce down. And again, once I've done all the optimizations, if I still need some performance, I'll come back and I'll do the ones that are under 3. Sniper Girl says, I'll keep everyone updated. My state is a farming state. Would rather deal with earthquakes than dying of boredom. Oh, I'd love to live in the country. I think that sounds great. Living out in the countryside and even in a farming state, that'd be nice. Instead of being stuck in the inner city like I am here. Let's do an optimization on this piece, shall we? So again, I'm just going to find it in the asset browser, which is here. And again, I'm going to jump outside for this. Let's remove this floating piece here. We don't need that one there. Let's replace it with this floating piece here. And let's do an optimization. Everything should be good. I shouldn't need to change these settings for most of these assets. 2K, well, again, we'll leave it at 2K. We'll see what sort of result it gives us. Let's do a merge. 102, I'm just checking the light map resolution. Yeah, 128 should be fine. And let me just change the name here. Sniper Girl says, trade, would rather live in a city, more to do. I love walking. The problem here is if you walk, there's literally nothing to see. Most you'll ever see is the cornfield, grew a few inches since the last time you saw it, and that's it. But that's not the point. It's the beauty of having all that lovely corn and just the greenery. That's what I miss. Because I used to live out of the city. Like, I live in a city now, and I have for quite a few years. But I used to live in the outer suburbs of the city, so maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours away by car from the city centre. And I miss all of the greenery, like all of the bushland, just greenery in general, because living in a city here, particularly because my apartment here is basically built behind a shopping strip, so a main road with lots of shops. There's no greenery, and I miss the greenery. I really do. Okay, so this is our optimized mesh. Let's pull that in and have a look. Okay, now I am noticing a little bit of difference here between the two, in the wood grain particularly. The 2K one seems just a little bit too low for this large asset. This asset piece is larger than the other one, so the resolution here on the wood grain is not good. So 2K is just a bit too low for that asset. Sniper Girl says the only good thing about my state is that they finally legalized cannabis. Well, there you go. That legal marijuana. Okay, let me just move these into the respective folders before I get completely confused as to what I'm doing. Stairs, wall, stairs, wall, stairs, wall. Under stairs, under stairs, under. No, this is the one we want. Okay. So I'm just going to... Yeah. It's too low, so we're going to have to up this one a bit. So I'm just going to remove these ones. And we will redo it. By upping the texture resolution. We may have to go 4K on this one. We could try 3K, you know, because like I said, we don't have to necessarily stick to a power of 2. We'll go 4K. Everything else should stay the same. Again, I'm just double checking vertex data, merge equivalent materials. Sniper Girl says the only good thing, Sniper Echo says, is that a big thing over there? Sniper Girl says not really yet. Just legalized it in March. It's supposed to be a good earner for the state governments, or the whatever you guys call them in the US, you know, your local state government people, revenue, as far as revenue goes, I mean. Because it's been a big success and a big hit in California. And isn't it also in Colorado? Isn't Colorado also legal, I believe? Sniper Girl says, though, with it being a farming state, you can see a lot of people that own land start growing it. Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a huge earner. The people that sell it are supposed to be making a fortune. The government love it because they're getting taxes from it. It's illegal in this country. You cannot smoke marijuana at all. You can't grow it for personal use. You can't smoke it. You're not supposed to. It's completely illegal, unfortunately. Okay, let's look at the new one it created. And this one... Yeah, I still don't really like what it's doing. It's kept a bit more detail, but not enough, and I don't like what it's done here on this piece. It's really removed a lot of the texturing. This is what I mean. This tool is good, but it's not great for everything. Some things you're either going to have to do manually by hand, or not optimize, or maybe use that tool that Sniper Echo was talking about. Yeah, Sniper Girl says big cash crop. Colorado was the first state to legalize it. Sniper Girl says The way I see it, it's that it's safer than drinking, so really no reason it shouldn't be legalized everywhere. I agree. I think if you're smoking it, it can be bad for your lungs. But it does. Drinking alcohol is so damaging to your health. It is not funny. So I think if people want to choose between the two, you can ingest cannabis as well. You don't have to smoke it, so you can get high that way. It's a better way to go. It's a natural plant. Not alcohol's pretty natural, I guess, as well. It's just fermented grapes, but if it's wine or if it's beer, it's hops or whatever. But it does less. Alcohol does a huge amount of damage. That's all I'm saying, which is why I don't drink very much. A lot of damage from alcohol. Yeah, I don't like what it's done for this asset. This asset's not transferring over wonderfully. I wonder if I should show you guys how I might do this manually in Max. Or maybe I should just keep going with some optimization and other stuff. Might be a better idea. So I'm just going to delete that and remove these ones that we don't want. Because there is a way to do it in Max, because I did it in Max for this other piece last night. Let's just do a save all. So this piece here, I optimized this one by hand in Max. So I actually re-UV mapped it and then baked it out, because the tool wasn't doing a great job for it either. But I think we may just keep going through to see if there are any other assets I can optimize first. Okay, now the clock here I can't really do with the tool because again it's using a glass shader for the front of the clock here. It's dirty glass. So that one would have to be done by hand. That's got 3, so that's fine. Okay, this bars here, that's got 4. This one might be a good one to do. Okay. Again, I'm just going to jump outside. Stick the bars in the level. It's tiny. So let's just zoom in here. Let's do a merge on this one. I'm just going to check the size of the texture maps on this. It's 1K. And this one is 1K. We'll go to a 2K texture on this, because I don't want to lose the detail in the actual vase itself, because again this is an object I may use to actually be interactable, so people can actually pick it up in the game while they're playing it, inspect it, maybe I'll hide something in it, under it, you never know. So I don't want the resolution, I don't want to lose the quality of the actual images by making the texture too low res. We'll leave everything else the same. Light map resolution, we'll knock that back to 64 for this one. Let's merge the actors. Sniper Girl says, I've personally never tried it. Looking at it down the road though, heard it's good for people with anxiety. It's supposed to be, although there is the increase of psychosis with marijuana smoking. Long-term marijuana smoking particularly. And by psychosis, you know what I mean. Paranoia. It can actually alter your mind, make you paranoid. Snappy Girl says, honestly, I found that dirty glass is good to use. It's good to use a diffuse material. Well, again, I did do that actually with, not for dirty glass, but for the doorways here. So if I jump around here, this glass is actually a diffuse material. It's not actually glass. But I did want to use actual glass materials for a lot of the assets, like these lights, and also the chandeliers that are up here. They all actually use a physical glass material, the crystal here, because I just think it looks prettier. But the diffuse material is going to give you better performance for sure, because you saw the glass shader, it's quite complex. Let's pull in the merged vase and let's have a look at that. Let's get them near each other so we can compare them properly. This is why I don't get it to automatically replace the actors. I always like to check to make sure I'm not losing any quality. And again, I can't see a difference in quality between these two. They look pretty much identical. Let's do a comparison though on the sizes on disk. I'm just going to do a save all. Snappy Girl says, sorry, I wasn't specific. Modded this shader for the van. Oh, okay. Let's have a look. You got me curious. Just going to open this up quickly and check it out. Anyone watching me that is new to my channel, you can go to phildoes3d.com. You can find out more about me there, look at my gallery and all that sort of stuff. There's links to my social media like my ArtStation, YouTube, Twitter, all that sort of thing. Oh yeah, no, the Advanced Glass Material Pack, yep. Yep, this is a really cool asset from the marketplace. Yeah, this shader is quite complex, but a very nice shader. And you can see it does some really cool effects for glass. I was going to say, what's going on there? Why'd that go all blurry? You're freaking me out, editor. You're freaking me out. Yeah, so we lost no quality. Let's do a comparison though between the original and the optimized version of the mesh. So we have gone from 4 different materials to 1. This is the optimized version. Let's open up the original version. So that's the original. This is the optimized. Let's look at the original's size. So 9.7 megabytes on disk and 16.6 megabytes in memory. And the merged one is 483 kilobytes in memory and 7.7 megabytes on disk. So 7.7 and about a half a meg, yeah, not even half a meg of memory compared to the original. Oh, not that one, which was 16.6 megabytes of memory. So we're saving 16 megabytes of memory and 9.7 meg on disk. I can't remember how big the other one was. 7.7, so we're saving about 2 megabytes of disk space. But more importantly as well, we're reducing the draw calls to 6 from 11. So all up win-win for this asset with no difference in quality between them. They're both identical. So let's swap this out for the new one. So this asset we're going to be swapping with the merged one. No difference as far as looks goes. And I think I have one of these urns up here as well. Yeah. So let's swap these two out. I'm just going to go through the level here really quickly and see if I've used that urn anywhere else. I generally try not to use an object too much inside of a level because I don't want people to notice we're reusing stuff. A couple of times is usually okay. People generally probably won't notice a couple of times. Don't think I used it anywhere else. No. We'll just jump to the back of the building and make sure. No, I didn't use it there. And I didn't use it there, so that's good. Okay, is there anything else we can optimize? How's our fishy? How many are on our fishy here? No, fishy only has one, so that's okay. I already did that one, so that's fine. This uses a glass shader, so we can't really do that one. This table will be a good one to actually optimize because it's got 4. Remember, anything over 3 we will optimize. So let's pull the table in. You'll notice my table here is huge. I didn't do the scale correctly on this. Alice in Wonderland. It can be Alice in Wonderland. And this is another good thing, another good use of the tool. It will actually rescale the object to the correct scale. So not the original, the merged one will. So let's do a merge on this one. So that's the glass shader is the one you use for the van. Yeah, it's a nice glass shader. I'm familiar with it. Sniper Girl says, has Infinity Blade content always been free on Unreal? What's Infinity Blade? Am I being really dumb? I'm not. Is that a game? Are they game assets or something you're talking about? Because I know that Epic released a lot of game assets free to download on the marketplace. Looks like game asset. Oh, okay. Let us, just before I do a merge on this, let me just organize this again. I want to move that into here. And these into here. Okay, let's do a merge on the table. Let's leave it at 2K. Let's see what result we get with 2K. Sniper Girl's giving me a link here to the Unreal Engine, Infinity Blade Icelands. One of the packs from it. Not going to lie, thinking of tearing their snow shader apart to see how it works. Let me have a look, you got me curious. I want to see too. Oh, okay. These are assets. No, they're nice assets for a stylized look. So I'm assuming Infinity Blade is a game, yeah? Oh, be aware of this though. It's only valid to version 4.20, which means you're probably going to run into issues trying to load it up. If it's only an asset, you might be okay. It says it's an asset pack. You may be okay, but always pay attention to the supported engine versions here. because otherwise you might run into issues if you're running the latest version of the UE4 engine and the asset hasn't been updated. But because it's only an asset pack, you might be okay. Generally, just meshes are okay. This was the Unreal thing, wasn't it? This is Epic Games. Because I've seen this scene used in demonstrations that Epic have done. But yeah, be aware of the versions here. And so you got people asking to update to 4.2.2. But because it's an asset, it may be okay. It just depends on the blueprints or if they've done any C++ stuff, custom C++ stuff that could break. It does look cool. If you like that stylized asset. Sniper Girl says, I'm assuming it is. Haven't heard of it, and I haven't heard of it either. Maybe it was an unreleased thing that Epic Games did, because you remember they were doing that, they released all those assets for that multiplayer game that they were working on. After they released Fortnite, they stopped making it, or yeah. I'm not sure what the game was called now, I can't remember. But they released all the assets to that game as well. Paragon, that's it. Thank you, Sniper Girl. Yeah, Epic Games released all of the assets that they made for Paragon, and some of them are really cool, like particularly the character stuff. The character designs and assets are really, really cool looking. And they're free. You can download them and you can use them in your own commercial games, guys, if you want. Epic Games have given you permission to do that. Provided you're using UE4, of course. You can't download the assets and use them in Unity. They have not given you permission to do that. But if you're going to make a game in UE4, then you can certainly use them. And they are cool. Sniper Girl says, I snatch up every free asset packet on Unreal every month. So do I. I do the same. Even if I'm not going to use it, I like to grab it while it's free. Because it's free. It's like the games that the Epic release every month. They give you a free game every month on the Epic Games Store. I always grab those too, even though most of them I probably will never play. Same with Steam. If Steam have a free game, I'll grab that as well. It's free. Why not? I love free. Don't we all love free? I'm actually going to take this up to 128 for the light map resolution. I'm going to leave it at 2K and see what result we get. We'll see. We'll see whether the result is good or not. Everything else should be able to stay the same. Let's merge the actors. Save. Sniper Girl says, same. Good to see what they did to make the shade. Yeah, well, that's the other reason. Even if you don't intend to use the asset, looking at the shader and the blueprint is really useful, really helpful for your own project. When Sniper Girl says how they made the shaders and materials, I don't care about using other people's models or anything. Well, again, they've given you permission to if you wanted to. I'm just saying. But you are right. It is really helpful to look at the blueprint or the shader tree to see how things have been put together. Okay, let's pull this table in. This table should be sized. That's just as big. Whoa, whoa, whoa! See, don't do that. Do not do that. I have a habit of pulling it in when I've got these textures selected, and that can really mess things up. Okay, just wanted to make sure I didn't pull the textures in by mistake, because I've done that and it messes up stuff. So it's my fault for not making sure everything is not selected before I try and pull it in. So I'm just going to find our original table again, because I just removed it from the level by doing a Control-Z. Let's pull it back out. And let's look at the merged one we just made, making sure nothing else but that is selected. Okay, now I'm already seeing a problem here with the balls. Yeah, and again, it's doing this weird thing. Sometimes it loses its mind and does not transfer multi-materials across. Don't know why. Do not know why. It's very strange. Although Sniper Echo said it might be a multi-material ID thing, because some of these assets I did use material IDs. So that could be the reason it's having such an issue. But only with some of the assets, not all of them. Yes, we're deleting those. Sniper Girl says, yeah, true, realise that they give you permission. Currently only doing stuff in my portfolio. Feel it would be dishonest if showed something that wasn't there. No, don't use their models in your portfolio. That's not good. You didn't make them. Don't do that. For sure. You don't want to use other people's work as part of your portfolio. So yeah, Sniper Echo did mention that we thought it might be a material ID problem with some of these assets. And that could be true because I did use material IDs to make up some of these assets when I was texturing it up in Substance Painter. So that is certainly a possibility. So aside from that, there's really not much going on here that should be causing an issue. Not from what I can see anyway. Sniper Echo says, although you're creating a new mech fill, so it should work. Yeah, well, that's what I would have thought too, but why sometimes it's fine and sometimes it really loses its mind? Like it basically that what it just did there was it only used this first material. It stopped on this first material. It didn't pay attention to these other three. And I'm trying to work out why. Why only on some of the assets it sort of uses the first one and then ignores the rest? There must be a reason. Must be some option we're missing. I agree with you, Sniper Echo. It must be an option somewhere that we are missing. But I can't see anything that could be causing a problem. I mean, this merge equivalent materials, that could have been a problem, but we did turn that off and it still was a problem, so that didn't seem to fix it. On the other assets anyway. I've got texture binning turned off, which means I'm not telling it to actually do anything with the different texture sizes. I want them all kept the same. I don't want it to choose which ones are more important, so that shouldn't be a problem. Vertex starter for baking, well, there is no vertex starter. I just have it turned on just out of habit. So I can't see why it's having an issue. It's all pretty standard. Yeah, I know what you meant, Sniper Echo. Sniper Girl says, tearing... sorry, I think I missed... Smurfberry was talking about having a problem with vertex normals, wasn't he? I'm so caught up in what I'm doing, Smurf. I completely glossed over. Smurfberry says, I've got a vexing normal vector issue. What's the issue, Smurfberry? My apologies for taking so long to ask. What is the issue with the vertex normals that you're having? Tell me. Sniper Girl says, tearing about shader systems and adopting it for your own. Have no problem doing that. No, that's fine. That's fine. Just don't use other people's assets and call them yours. Sniper Girl says is fluent in Taiwanese. Smurfery, if you don't answer me, then I'll have to talk to you in Discord. I want to know what your problem you're having with your vertex normals is. So yeah, I can't see any option here though that could be causing a problem. So it's got me beat. Why sometimes it's losing its mind? There should be no reason. We're making a new. It's making a new UV, and it's also making new text. Smurf, it's technology. What problem are you having, Smurf? Technology needs no reason. That's true. That is true, Smurfberry. What problem are you having with your vertex normal, Smurfberry? Tell me. Inquiring minds want to know. What is the problem with your vertex normals? Is this relating to what you posted in Discord where you are having a problem with hard edges, I think you were saying? Sniper Girl says, how nice you were to said program. But it does seem to have a mind of its own sometimes, software, I have to agree. Max can be pretty weird at times as well. Yeah, I can't see any setting here that could be causing an issue. Like, you see me not changing these settings between the different assets we've been using. It's been fine on some and it loses it on others. Why that is? Actually, my one thing I'm thinking is it may be a scale issue. It shouldn't be. But you see this table? This table is not scaled correctly. It's too big. I didn't worry about it because I scaled it down when I brought it into the editor to put it inside the game. I'm wondering if that's causing an issue. If the scale is causing an issue. I wonder. Should we do a test to see if it is a scale issue? I'm curious now. I like to work these things out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Max really quickly. Actually, before I open up Max, what I'm going to do is I am going to export this, even though I have it on my hard drive. It's probably just easier for me to export it and re-import it that way. So I'm going to export it to my desktop. I'm just going to put it in its own folder because why not? I'm not going to change the name of it or anything. Everything here I'm going to keep on default. I'm going to open up Max. And it takes Max forever to open now. I don't know why. Maybe it's part of Autodesk's genuine software checking it goes on in the background, but it seems to take Max 2020 much longer to open than Max 2018 used to. Snowberry says it's an issue at a scene where I have mirrored UVs. Okay. Sniper says, can you open up a material? I can do that. This is the material. It's all pretty standard. We're just using a diffuse, metallic, a normal, and a roughness. And the actual materials themselves are pretty standard. Default world. I've got it to wrap, but it won't be wrapping anyway. Aside from that, I can't really see anything here that could be causing an issue. And I can't see anything in the shader that should be causing an issue either. It's all pretty standard. Smurfberry says the normals aren't working for part of it, showing a hard edge and some other weird normal stuff, but only for part of it. I think I actually did look at the image you posted here, Smurfberry. I'm just in Discord at the moment, I'm just checking. And I see Headclop posted about Blender working on Chromebooks now, which is pretty cool, in the Discord. I'm just looking for your post, Smurfberry. Were you naughty? Did you post it in the gallery section by mistake? Because I'm looking in the general chat. Okay, you did. Okay. Let me just copy the link here so I can get a better look at it. Alrighty, so these are your normals. And what's the issue we're having here? The UVs are mirrored and they weren't causing a problem before, but now they're causing a problem. So you're mirroring the UVs. What is the issue? Are you having you're talking, do you not want a hard edge here or something? Is that what you're saying? Showing a hard edge and some of the weird normal stuff, but only for part of it. There is a post. I just pulled it up. Oh, you already solved that one. This is a new issue. Okay. Did you? And you haven't posted about it. So what's the problem? What's the new problem, Smurfberry? What is the new problem you're having? While you're telling me that, I'm just going to open up this, or import the model we just exported. Because I want to see if this is an issue because of scale. And it's my bad for not making sure everything was to scale properly before I brought it into the engine. Yeah, you can see it's really not to scale. So I'm just going to scale it back. By. Let's go to 20%. Come on. Zoom in here. I really should have my... I've got a little rectangle that's at the height of a character. To give me a better idea of what my scale should be. I should be using that. Mr. Squarepeg, hello to you, Mr. Squarepeg. How are you? Did you have a good weekend? It's good to see you though, Mr. Squarepeg. Sniper Girl says, think that means the blender will be working on a potato soon? Sniper Girl says to Mr. Squarepeg, hi. Mr. Squarepeg says, doing good here. I had a good weekend. Good to hear. I always like to hear when you guys have had a good weekend. We're trying to work out why some of the assets that I'm trying to do an optimization on inside of Unreal for our game level are not optimizing properly. One of my theories is the scale. Because the table is not to scale properly, I'm wondering if that's having an issue, if that's causing an issue, I should say. So what I've done here is I've just scaled the table back. I'm going to re-export this. I'm not going to overwrite the original file just to do a test. So I'm just going to re-save this as something else. So we're going to call this one round pedestal table underscore test. Everything can be kept on default. I actually created a preset for UE4, but it's pretty much standard. Okay, let's jump back into Unreal. Let me go into my merged folders folder. Just because there's not so much stuff in it, so it's easier for me to look at. What were these from? What were these from? Round pedestal table. Oh, that's this. Yeah. We should be deleting these because we don't want them. That's correct. I just want to make sure before I delete them. Round pedestal table. Yeah, I'm just going to do a save all before I delete them as well, just to make sure. This close to a deadline. If I did something that stopped me from being able to load the level up, I would just lose it. So I'm just going to delete these now. It'll tell me if they're being used, and they're not anyway. So let's import that one we just exported, the test one. Okay. Let us also... I'm just going to pull it in here. Now I'm worried it's too small. That's too small. This is why I need to have my character in the level while I'm making it. Let me just jump back into Max really quickly and let me scale this up a little bit more. Let's go twice as... No. Twice as big. Let's go 200. Not enough. Let's go... That should probably be okay. Let me export it again. As the test. Let me re-import it here inside of the Unreal Engine. Size is still too small. Let's try this one. Again, what I really should do is bring the character height in. There we go. That's probably okay. That size should be right. Alright, so we have our table scaled back to a normal level. All good. What we need to do though is we need to copy over the proper shaders from the other table. So before we can do a bake out, let me open up that. And let's copy them over. So we want this texture, this shader I should say, here. And this one. You know, because I've already got the table in Max, it's just as easy for me to do this by hand inside of Max. Just re-UV map it and re-bake it. Not as easy, but relatively easy to do anyway. Okay, so now we have the right textures on it, shaders on it. Let's see if we can do a bake out. So I'm just going to remove this one here from the level because that's the old one. Let's try and do a merge here. No, I just want to start by removing these old shaders that were brought in that we don't need, just so I don't get confused as to what's going on. They should all be able to go. Yep, it looks good. It'll warn me if I need them, and it didn't warn me, so that means I don't need them. Sniper says, Phil, could you just reset the scale in UE4 and run it? What do you mean reset the scale? The problem with the scale is because my original model inside of Max was imported too large. There is no way I can reset the scale that I'm aware of to make it normal again because the original was too big. Unless I'm misunderstanding what you mean, Sniper. Mr. Squarepeg says, so I'm making a Wizard Cops, a video game about a wizard that joins law enforcement. That sounds cool. It's going to be amazing. You'll be right back, no problem. Yeah, so yeah, I can't reset the scale because I didn't scale it up inside of the editor. I brought it into the editor at the wrong scale. Whereas this one I brought in at the right scale. So let's see if we can merge this one down without, let's see if we get the same problem. Let's see if it's a scaling issue, which is what I'm trying to work out. So I have the table selected, it knows the test one, everything else is the same. Let's merge the actors. Let's send it to, because yeah, I'm really curious as to why it's working on some models but not on others. And there must be a reason. It can't just be because the editor decides sometimes it doesn't want to work. There's got to be a reason. And it'll stick in my brain until I can try and work out what the problem is. So let's merge the actors. Oh, save. There we go. But that does sound amazing, Mr. Squarepeg. Wizard Cops and a video game about a wizard that joins law enforcement. That does sound cool. Actually, I don't think it did work. No, and it didn't work again. If I look at it, look, it's done the same thing, so it's not a scaling issue. There's some other problem. What could the problem be? That's the question. And you see, it seems to stop on the first material, because if we look at the original, The first material is that one there. It does seems to be ignoring these three. It gets to the first one and then it says, nope, I'm not going any further. Why is that? When we've changed no settings between the other ones we did that worked. If it's not a scaling issue. And again, just let me delete these ones so that I have a nice clean workflow here. So it's not a scaling problem. I can't work out what else it could be. I mean, the mesh is just the mesh. There is nothing special about it. In fact, it's the same mesh we exported from Unreal. I wonder if it's because it's an overlapping UV thing, but that shouldn't be causing a problem. You never know. I'm just going to throw an unwrap on this and see what the UVs are like. See, they are overlapping, which generally is not an issue, although really should not be overlapping, but it should be able to unpack that into a non-overlapping UV when it does its bake. So that's strange. Mr. Squarepeg says, Sniper Girl will do. It does sound cool, Mr. Squarepeg. It sounds very cool. Wizard cops and video game about wizard that joins law enforcement. Sniper Girl says, you looked on YouTube to see there's a troubleshooting guide, if there's a troubleshooting guide. Sniper Echo says, Phil disconnects some of the texture maps. Well, given it remakes the UVs, it should be okay. That's what I thought too. And I'm sure some of the other assets it hasn't had a problem with were remapped okay. You want me to disconnect some of the... but why? We're only using base colour, the metallic, the roughness and the normal. I can't see why any of that should be causing an issue. And we're using the RGB from each of them. They're not being packed into different channels. So that shouldn't cause an issue for it. There's got to be a reason though. Sniper says, well, given it remakes the UVs, should be okay. Smurfberry says, I fixed it, I guess. What was the issue though? You didn't really, or maybe you didn't, I'm just being, oh okay. Smurfberry has posted some images here. All should be soft, but there's two triangles at the seam where it's all jacked up. You fixed it. I did not have tangents and binormals checked in my FBX export settings in Maya. Yes, binormals and tangents, that can be an issue sometimes. Like talking of binormals and tangents. Let's just talk about that here a little bit in Unreal. When you import a mesh, generally you can import it and get the engine here to redo the tangent space to milk space. Mick? I always call it milk, but mix T space, which is from Blender, I believe. I believe it was developed through Blender. The Blender guys came up with it. Or you can get it to recompute your tangents or your normals. If you don't want that to happen, then when you export or when you import the FBX file in Unreal, make sure you select binormals and tangents, or normals and tangents. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a drop down inside the import when the import dialog comes up. So yeah, sometimes if you're having problems with normal maps and you're bringing them into Unreal, double check that. The other thing to double check is in the build settings of the imported object, if you're in Unreal, which I'm maybe assuming you're working in Smurfberry, you can get it to recompute your tangents or your normals here through these settings. Make sure you hit apply changes after you change anything. Smurfberry says, I only had smoothing group selected, which is fine if you don't have mirrored UVs, but I do, so it barfed on it. Okay. Well, there you go. And Headclot has posted Development Fund Report, July 2019. because we were talking about Epic Games donating $1.2 million to the Blender Foundation, which is very cool of Epic. Mr. Squarepeg says, who here saw the major stuff Blender is getting in the second half of 2019? Smurfberry says, I haven't heard of anything. We're on 22.8. Mr. Squarepeg says to Smurfberry, I'm going to copy paste the list. Well, there you go. And he has done that inside of on the Discord server. Cool. And it was you, I think, Mr. Squarepeg, that told us all about the donation from Epic Games. Smurfberry says, I heard that they were going to be giving more attention to the procedural material system at some point, like competing with Substance Designer. That'd be cool, now that Adobe owns Substance. Mr. Squarepeg says, also Ubisoft, yeah, I heard about that. Ubisoft joined the development fund and is going to use Blender exclusively. Yeah, I did hear that. I remember reading an article about that as well, which is cool. All of this is good for Blender, and it's good for everyone because we have an open source alternative to the exorbitantly expensive Autodesk products like Maya and Max, or any other 3D commercial software really is quite expensive. And Blender is free. We love free. We were talking about that before. Free. We love free everything. Sniper says you can access it now. Cool. Sniper Girl says to Mr. Squarepeg, wow, that's all. It is awesome. Smurfberry says, yeah, I heard that they were going to add even more to it. And Sniper Girl says, I'm definitely going to learn Blender in the future. Yeah, actually, I should pay more attention to Blender as well, actually. You're not the only one. I use Max exclusively at the studio, but I really should start paying a lot more closer attention to Blender. With all of these changes happening in the industry. And maybe it'll make Max and Maya cheaper, who knows. If Autodesk think that they're a threat. So it's going to be good for everyone. Sniper Echo says there was a build of it in 2.79, actually nodes everywhere is what they're calling it. Mr. Squarepeg says they're also going to share tools they make for Blender. Ubisoft, that is. Well, that's cool. Because we all love tools. Tools can be really useful, particularly ones that studios create. Everything nodes, Mr. Squarepeg says to Sniper Girl. Sniper Echo says if you guys use Blender 2.8, grab the download tool and get the fresh build every day. Smurfberry says, like the D-Lighter from Agisoft. Like the D-Lighter from Agisoft. That's a really cool, actually. The D-Lighter in Agisoft. The D-Lighter in Alchemist, Substance Alchemist is really cool too. It does the job really well. I've got to work out what the problem with this is. Why is it having an issue on some of these assets? There's nothing I can see that could be causing it to have a problem. What could be causing the issue? Yeah, I can't see why it's having an issue. So yeah, you will get a warning about tangent space if your UVs like this are overlapping. It really does not like it. That this mixed space, what's it called? Mixed T-space tangent space does not like overlapping UVs, and that's the default now in Unreal. They did go. You can turn it off and go back to the original if you want, but yeah, it'll import it. It won't have a problem with it, but it will just complain about it. But if you do want to recompute it, you can do it here in the build settings. But there's nothing I can see that should be causing an issue. I don't understand why that asset baking tool is having an issue here. It gets to the first shader and then it stops. It doesn't continue on to look at the other three. Only on some assets. Some assets it's been fine. Some assets that have had more materials, it's been fine. So why? What is the reason? And there's nothing I can see that should be causing an issue. Technology, that's right, Smurfberry, technology. Damn. But that's going to really bug me. It's really going to bug me. But like I said, I can do it manually in Max. Like I can bake out, I can do my re-UV mapping here and bake it out to one texture. This is not an issue. But I prefer to know why the tool is not working. Because there's got to be a reason. There's got to be something between these assets that is different. I'm just going to look at one of the ones that did work properly for, which was, I don't know, let's look at this piece here, the wooden paneling piece. So I'm just going to find that model. I'm just going to do a comparison between the two mesh assets to see if there's any difference between them, which is this one here. This was the original, and you see it handled this fine. All of this looks identical. There's nothing different here. I can't work out why this one is fine, but this one is not, because this one has fewer materials than this one. And the materials are all identical. They're all set up the same way. So it can't be a problem with the actual shader, because the shaders are identical. So what is the issue? I don't know. They're all the same. What are the UVs like on this mesh? Let's have a look. See, again, this has some overlapping UVs as well. It's not causing an issue. So I don't think it's the UVs either. I don't think it's the overlapping UVs that are causing a problem. Something is though. What could it be? I see no difference between them. Build scales are the same. Let's go down to general settings and check there. Light map coordinate index, all of that looks the same as well. This one has 3 UV channels. One of them is going to be empty, yeah, the middle one. So I'd have to go through and actually, this is the original, which we replaced anyway, but because it looked like the light map channel was on channel 2. But this is the old asset. But I don't see any other difference between them. And this one the same. It has an empty UV channel. Oh no, that one's not. It doesn't have an empty channel. Weird. It's weird. I can't work out why it's doing it. Sniper says to Smurfberry, did you hear anything about Mushroom being integrated into Blender? That'd be cool. Smurfberry says, I've not, but there is a plugin for Mushroom to Blender that I've heard of. That'd be really cool, actually, integrating Mushroom into Blender. Very cool. You know what? I may have to just call it a day here and try and work out either later tonight or tomorrow on stream why we're having a problem with just some of these assets. Because there's got to be a reason. But I think we will call it a day. I do want to thank you guys so very much for hanging out with me and for watching. I will be back on again tomorrow. Let me just clean up my area here. Where we'll pick up where we left off here and continue working on doing some optimization for our game level here. Just position my camera and do a save all. Yes, again, like I said, thank you guys very much for hanging out and watching and being here with me. I will be back on again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time in the US. For our next stream, we'll continue where we left off here. You're quite welcome, Sniper Girl, Sniper Echo, Sniper Barbecue, Mr. Squarepeg, anyone and everyone else that's watching. I do want to thank you again for watching and hanging out with me. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll pick up where we left off here, doing some optimization of assets, and I'll try and work out why it's having a problem with just some assets. It's bizarre. But if worse comes to worse, I can just optimize them by hand in Max. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. See you guys.